Everybody, welcome to the Steelers Nation Unite Weekly Huddle presented by Hyundai. I'm Missy Matthews, joined today by my good friends Bob Labriola, Mike Prasuta, our Steelers live crew. We're going to be taking a bunch of your questions today, talking about the upcoming combine, off-season, really anything they want. So who knows?
You're picking questions. So
I'll pick good ones. I'm
I
usually pretty
have
good.
no doubt.
Okay.
No doubt.
All right, you guys ready?
Yep.
All right,
Ready
let's
or not,
see
here it
here.
comes.
Here's a broad question, but I'll throw this to you, Mike. You can go first. This is from Peter. What do you think the team needs to address for the draft and free agency?
I'm going to sing the same song I was singing last year, pass rush, pressure. Whether that's a defensive lineman or whether it's an outside linebacker, edge rusher type. You know, we've spent a lot of time talking about the secondary. That's one way to defend the pass. That's getting better, but I think the way the game's being played, you cannot have enough down linemen who can create pressure, and the same thing for outside linebacker, particularly when James Harrison is getting older, not younger. That's not going to go on forever, is it?
No, it's not. And I would just broaden it a little bit and say pass defense, because pressure is certainly part of that. But if when you get there at a particular round and there isn't a rusher there, somebody can cover just as good because you don't have enough of those guys either. So I'm looking for, this offseason, I won't say concentrated on, but let's say focused on pass defense once again.
Really, I think if the front office and the personnel department and the scouts are sharp, they'll just do what they did last year.
Watch this.
Draft 3 starters, and then they'll be fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, more of that.
Because that happens every year.
All the time.
And it's easy. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's easy.
for sure. All right.
You just visit the tree in the orchard.
Shake
Yeah.
it a little.
Shake a little. And
Edge rusher tree.
Yeah, right.
All right, this next question is from B. Weaver. What carries more weight when evaluating players, combine drills, interviews, or performance on the field in college?
It's performance on the field. Certainly the production, is a big part of it. And then, I would say third would be the combine drills. There are Mendoza lines in each of the categories below which, you're just not NFL caliber. Certainly I will acknowledge that. But, if you do 3 more reps on the bench press than the other guy, I don't think that that's a very significant determiner in who gets picked or how they're, stacked.
Yeah, I think that you can eliminate yourself from consideration with the off-the-field stuff, or as you mentioned, the Mendoza line. If you're a cornerback and you run a 5.9, probably doesn't matter if you have 10 or 11 interceptions. But the guys who get picked and the guys they get excited about are the guys that do it on the field. And even not just on the field, I think the trend in recent years with the Steelers, now there are exceptions. Javon Hargrave came from South Carolina State, but the Steelers like big production guys from big-time programs.
I think we hear Kevin Colbert say it every year before the combine and even at the combine. The combine for them is a chance to just reaffirm what they've seen from going and visiting these colleges, talking to these players and whatnot. So.
Yeah, and the fact that you have 330 or whatever it is number of players all in one contracted location and available to you for a week, that's what really makes the combine valuable, I believe, for the NFL. Not so much the drills, but you get to talk to these guys, you get to see them interact, right, and just I don't know, see the way they conduct themselves in this is kind of a business trip for them, and just see how they act.
A business trip, the type of which or the likes of which none of them have ever experienced before. So you're thrown into a chaotic environment if you're the candidate.
Right.
How do you deal with that?
Exactly.
All right, next question. This is from R85 Vargas. Do any of you have any pregame rituals during the season?
I do, but I'm going to
refrain
just
from
leave
telling
it
us.
at that.
Okay, Pursuta, we appreciate that. Labs, what about you?
No, I'm not going there.
No.
Sorry.
Okay.
Let's hear yours.
I make sure I eat breakfast before every game. Does that count?
It's the most important meal of the day.
I've heard that. All right, let's move on. All right, this next question is from Brian MC. What is your favorite part about the offseason? Labs, we'll let you go first.
I'm assuming that the questioner means, the combine stuff or the draft or, you know, the draft is somewhat exciting. You know, there are pockets of
There's
excitement.
anticipation.
Yeah, pockets of flurries of activity in over.
Pockets.
Yeah, I understand, but what I'm talking about though is the process of it, especially for the Steelers. You know, that's your primary method of roster building here, and it has been, ever since 1969 when Chuck Noll was hired. And so, as someone, if you're a fan or if you work here, you kind of have come to understand that whatever major outside influences they're going to be on the roster, that's when they are made. And so, yeah, I would say, draft weekend.
Yeah, I God help me, I really enjoy the combine, and I get what we just said about, the drills aren't the be-all, end-all, but for me, it's a nice catch-up. When I watch college football, I watch it as a fan, and I'm watching my team or I'm watching a team I don't like.
Who's your team again?
I'm thinking about bowl games.
I forget.
Everybody knows by now. The combine really refreshes my memory and kind of reboots the computer about where the players are and who they are. And the coverage is really quite good. I watch it, I tape it, I watch it again. And I feel like after spending hours of that, and hey, some of it's I could do without. Let's not kid ourselves. But after going through that, I feel like as if when the draft arrives, I have some sort of feel for what might happen. And more importantly, when it happens, how a guy might fit a specific team.
And let me throw this in, too, as someone who has both watched it on television, now that it's televised by NFL Network, and actually been in the bowl of Lucas Oil and watched it. It's much better on television. It's much better on television because, the guys aren't wearing jerseys with numbers. That mean they list them by position alphabetically. So, QB4, who is that? And so on television, you have a much better understanding of who it is, what they're doing, because you can see it better. And they put it into context, too, in terms of what some of the other guys are doing.
And most importantly, you can do this.
Yeah,
Correct.
if you're not
And
interested.
then come back to it, or you can do this, which is fast forward,
Yes.
or you can do this, which is mute. Those all come in handy.
I let me just say this once again. Mike Mayock, if you got to listen to somebody from the
Pretty good.
combine, yeah, he knows more about it than anybody else I've been around.
Plus, every year they show that video of him picking off Marino when he played with BC.
Pursuit, I thought for sure answering the question about your favorite part of the offseason, you would have said the start of training camp.
I consider that the season.
Okay.
When
All right.
When we go to Latrobe, we're rolling.
Okay.
That's.
All right. That's fine.
But I get what you. Training camp is my favorite part of the entire season. For a bonus answer to a question that has not been asked, I love St. Vincent College. Everything about it.
I mean, and it's between Pursuta and Mike Tomlin, who loves it more. I think both of you guys could live there all year.
I wouldn't have a problem with that at all.
All right, on to our next question. This is from Steelers Country 6. Hi, Missy, Mike, and Bob. Assuming Ben returns and plays out his final contract, when would the Steelers draft/seek his replacement? That's part one. Part two, we're going to answer first.
That's
Also,
a really good question.
where are Tunch and Wolf? The answer to that is they are probably on a beach, climbing a mountain.
I was going to say out to lunch, but
Yeah.
you could say that a lot of times through the
Sure.
day.
Literally or figuratively, there's a distinction there.
Little R&R.
Yeah, well, more Tunch than Wolf.
That's
in
true.
terms of
That's true.
disappearing off the face of the earth. I'm ready to pick Ben's replacement whenever that freshman from USC is available, Sam Darnold. That's the guy.
Wow.
That's the guy. Did you see the Rose Bowl?
I saw it.
Okay. Just saying.
This is just
What
my
he did to that Big Ten team.
my take on this. I think they have to have some sort of advanced warning from Ben or notification
Well, it said
from Ben.
assume he plays out his current contract. So that's 3 more.
Does that mean he's not going to play another one?
Yes, that's the way I took the question.
Okay. If you're going to put it, the point I'm belaboring to make here is I would not try to get the guy too early. Because I think
right.
when they die on the vine, that doesn't do anybody any good.
And you ended up having to make a decision on him with a second contract before you see him on the field.
Yeah, and rarely do you actually get to transition smoothly in that
Right.
type of scenario. But it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for me if you drafted a guy you really like and he spent a year watching Roethlisberger ride off into the sunset, leading the Steelers to one more Super Bowl, and then you hand the keys to the car to the kid.
The kid's a freshman
Yeah.
at USC. 2 more years, he'll come out as a junior.
Yeah.
Ben will be going into 19, which,
And then you think
based
that's
on
it?
the question, that's the end.
Yeah.
There it is.
I would,
So what you're saying is,
I try to beat it by a year. I would try to
Wrong
beat,
show, Labs. Wrong show.
Okay.
I would try to beat Roethlisberger's departure by a year. I wouldn't wait till he retires and say, okay, I guess we're drafting a quarterback this year. Right?
Or you wait till the year after he's gone and finish 5-11,
And then you got a better
and then you get a better
pool
shot
of
at
pick
it.
from. Yeah.
Maybe Brian Billick beats you in a meaningless regular season finale and helps you get that guy.
Deja vu. All right, here's a good question, Labs. I don't know the answer to this, so I'll throw it to you guys. It's from Ed McConnell. He wants to know, why is the Combine always in Indy? Can other cities apply to host it, and have they done so?
It ended up in Indy. It started it was in New Orleans a couple of times. It was in Florida, either Tampa or Orlando a couple of times, because it started in 1982. And then it ended up in Indianapolis. And let me just say this. Anyone who has been to Indianapolis and understands how the downtown area works in terms of all those walkways that they have, and how they're connected to the convention center, and that's connected to the Dome, and that's connected to all the hotels.
I'm a fan of that.
Right. I don't want it ever to be anywhere but Indianapolis. It is way too convenient. And then geographically, Indianapolis, I think, is about
Near in the middle, isn't it?
near the middle. And so I understand that, because there was some talk in Indy last year. I don't know if you heard it too,
Mm-hmm.
that Los Angeles, because of all that money that guy Stan Kroenke put in, was going to get a combine. I think that would be a huge mistake for 2 reasons. Number one, if you put it all the way on one coast, you're making it extremely difficult for half the country to get there. And LA,
Television.
right? And LA is just so spread out that it would be impossible to make it easy and convenient to get everything you want to get done in that short amount of time. So
I thought you were going to say everybody just likes that one steakhouse. In Indianapolis.
St. Elmo's.
Yeah, but no, it's if you've been to Indy for an event, they do it well. I've
Yeah.
been to the Final
good
Four
Super
there.
Bowls.
It's laid out well. It's no
Yes.
muss, no fuss, no hassle. Decent place to be for 3-5 days.
5.5 hour drive from here, and my convenience is, of course, the
Paramount.
Yes, the primary consideration.
All right, we just want to let you know the keyword for today's weekly huddle is off-season. So you can head to SteelersNationUnite.com, enter the keyword off-season to earn some yards. We have time for a few more questions. This one, guys, is from Steel Dreams 7. Do you think the Steelers would entertain signing a free agent tight end like Martellus Bennett if the price were right?
My position on tight ends is that I don't think that it is necessary to have an outstanding player at that position. If you're gonna, whatever money you would allocate, free agent money, salary cap money, you would allocate to Martellus Bennett.
Mm-hmm.
I would prefer it allocated to somebody who maybe helps you rush the passer, helps you cover a receiver, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the price is right is a little innocuous. I guess my answer would be it depends. I wouldn't rule anything out, but I don't think it's a priority.
Okay. All right. This is from a user who did not submit a name, but we'll entertain your question anyways. Will there be any new uniforms in 2017?
No. There will not be the Steelers do not have a throwback for 2017. The color rush,
Could be used again.
yes, is in the mix.
But
But that's fine. But that's not new because it was
Right.
worn last
True.
year. Okay.
he's very literal.
Well,
Very.
hey, I'm trying to answer.
This is
the
why
question.
he does ask and answer.
Yeah,
Make sure you
yeah.
submit your questions, by the way, if you have any more questions for Labs we didn't get to today.
I thought those color rush uniforms were great.
I love them.
And I think most of them around the league make me want to not watch the game.
Yeah.
Some
I
made
thought-
a lot of people not able to watch the game, actually, if you want to be literal.
I thought those were fantastic. I hope they don't play any more Thursday night games, but I wouldn't mind seeing those thrown out again once or twice.
I'll tell you what. I'd go for 16 Thursday night games.
And that's where we would agree to disagree.
But then that's like 16 Sundays. But then you're off every weekend. then I get to watch some NFL football.
Well, we have a different Friday morning schedule in terms of when we begin our activities.
That's-
So.
Touche.
To quote a
Can we play them all at home? Then I'm with you.
to quote a former coach here, that is an accurate statement.
All right, our next question is from Berg Fan. Do you guys have any combine performances from current or former Steelers players that stand out to you in your years of covering it?
Like I said, we don't get to watch them, so.
Well, I watch it on TV.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm sure I did. It goes away. I'll go back. One of the most memorable things in recent years I've seen was when Missy and I were doing the draft night coverage, and they picked Stephon Tuitt, and I saw that fumble recovery in Ireland. And he went 80 or 90 yards, and just a guy that big running that fast with the football was compelling to me. But there's so much. I mean, it just in our business stuff happens, and you go, oh, and then the next week some more stuff happens, and you forget about what just happened.
See, I remember from that night when we picked Stephon Tuitt that he got kicked out of a pit game at Heinz Field.
Notre Dame probably still won.
Yeah. All right. We have time for one more. Speaking of the D-line, this one is from SNU member. Should the lack of depth on the D-line be a concern for the Steelers? I think I see some yeses here.
Bobblehead.
yeah. We talked about this on when we did Steelers by position on the defensive line. I think they got 3, and they start 3, so you can say they got the starting group pretty much figured out. After that, everything's up in the
You
air.
cannot have enough depth at that position. Anybody watch the Super Bowl? Atlanta was really rushing the passer well until they got tired because they had to do it 60 times. Can't have enough of those guys.
Get off the field once in a while.
Well, but it's
and you don't have to do it 60 times.
the way the game is played now.
Yes, so absolutely. Pass defense. It's all about that.
We've talked about that a lot today.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for sending
the
in
keyword?
questions, joining us today. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. I want to know if you do.
I do.
Don't look down at your
Offseason.
Okay.
I was going to say, friendly reminder, the keyword for today's weekly huddle presented by Hyundai is off-season, so make sure you enter that, earn your yards. Thanks to Bob and Mike for joining me. That's going to do it for this weekly huddle.